Hi guys, what's going on, and welcome back to an episode of Conqueror's Blade. So, I have in the past reviewed both the Javelin Sergeant, that's the word, and the Imperial Javelineers. Let's go and have a quick look at them in the unit tree. Both of these two are separate units because I got the Javelin Sergeants first, played them, leveled them up, did them, forgot about them, did the Imperial Javelineers, but never really sort of done them together in one video to sort of contrast them against each other, kind of see if there's been any changes as well since we last did the two videos, and kind of see which one I prefer and which one is better, because that's not necessarily the same thing. So, both of them play fairly differently. So to start with the Javelin Sergeants, if we go and find them in the barracks, there they are. I'm definitely getting too many units. We need to have a tidy up at some point. Then I quite like these guys. I didn't have them fully max leveled when I did my video. I think I was like level 15 or something. And I just played the last couple of levels more recently when I took them out just to fill in the spot. I obviously got them with a full set of doctrines, things like the Javelin Doctrine to give them that 10% ammo buff. And that brings them basically to 5 volleys of javelins they get. And on top of this, they do get a much larger number of abilities. They have the throw javelin, that's sort of 1 and 2s, that's auto aim and manual aim. Then we also get the double shot, and this is what the Imperial Javelineers don't have. Basically, it's the same as the throw javelin. You get to aim it, you have to aim it manually, there's no auto double shot. And yeah, they just throw 2 javelins in succession. It basically cuts out the cooldown timer. Yes, it uses more ammo. It's not always the right thing to do. If you're near or on a supply point, it is hugely useful because this cooldown on the double shot is independent to the cooldown on throw javelin. And of course, you also then get the marksman on top of that. So basically, you have 3 separate throw javelin abilities all on separate cooldowns. It means you can almost cycle them far quicker because you get that extra double throw. It means you can cycle them far quicker than you can with Imperial Javelineers, which makes them ideal on supply points and stuff like that. But that's where perhaps the benefits of the Javelin Sergeants then stop. They aren't as defensive. Their defensive stats aren't as high. Their hit points aren't as high. They struggle more in sustained combat. They do okay in melee. They're not amazing, but they'll hold up a little bit. But now we've got new things, new units like the Conquerors and stuff like that, which cut through units like these Javelin Sergeants if they get caught into melee, and activate their shock attack. That you find that these Javelin Sergeants units, they're a ranged Javelin unit, and they can do a little bit of melee just to clean up. If your Javelin volleys just leave a couple of units left, or you really need to clinch a point or something like that, then they can be thrown in. But ideally, you want to be avoiding combat with these Javelin Sergeants. And I think that's where the Imperial Javelineers sort of come a little bit more into their own, or where at least I think the reason people tend to prefer them more. Because I find generally when I talk to people, and from what I've seen in the comments, people prefer the Imperial Javelineers. That's because, they're a lot more tanky, that 670 piercing defense makes them really quite nice, and they get a natural shield wall formation from the off. Which makes them a little bit more resilient to range fire when they're sort of up close and in formation. They of course lose the extra double shot ability, and their ammo capacity is almost half, to be honest, a little over half of what it is with the Javelin Sergeant, and it means they get 3 shots. So you're losing 2 Javelin shots and you're losing that double shot. But in return, you're getting a much better defensive stats, or at least better, if not much better. And you definitely do get much better melee capability. They're not amazing. They're no means a Conqueror, no means a Prefecture Guard, but these guys will hold up pretty decently in hand-to-hand combat, if not for extended periods, at least for some period of time. And that's kind of the choices you have: more javelins versus better melee. Now, most people, as I said, seem to prefer the Imperial Javelineers, and I think probably, statistically, that makes them the better unit, because they're a little bit more versatile. You're still getting those 3 Javelin volleys. I think the Javelins probably do slightly higher damage as well, which is also nice. But I just don't get on with them. I just hate them. I absolutely despise them. I've tried to get on with them, since the video. I try and use them in battle, and I just don't like them. I don't know what it is. I don't know why other people like them so much. I just struggle with them. Yet on the flip side, Javelin Sergeants, I love. I find them a really nice unit. I find the fact that you get 5 Javelin volleys to be plenty. I like the double shot when you're pressured and you want to get that, that really high Javelin volley damage out really quickly. I find it works well. I think the fact that they're not very good in melee just makes me more careful with them in a way that I'm not with the Imperial Javelineers, because I think I can sort of throw them in a little bit more and then I just end up getting myself killed. So, I don't know, I just get on better with the Javelin Sergeants, even though I think on paper and in reality, the Imperial Javelineers are probably the better unit. Anyway, let's just hop into some battles with both of these units then, and see how we actually get on. We can talk a little bit more about them in the actual siege. So we are on White Elk Fort siege map. We've got through and already captured the A point. I've been fighting with my Fortibrashiers at this point, but then go to the supply point, grab my Javelin Sergeants. Just seeing if those units were going to come a bit closer. If I ever see anyone, you know, even if it's just one or two unit models when I'm near a supply point, I always try and throw a Javelins, because it's just free shots, because you're auto going to resupply like that. Anyway, pushing on, trying to get onto the base point. Initially going to look, and this is what I like about these guys, is that you can just get in, put all your damage out in a really quick period of times, and just do a ton of damage. Look at that, immediately getting a really good amount of kills. And because these guys get such high block break, unlike the Imperial Javelineers who struggle against shields, it means you just do a really intense amount of damage really, really quickly. And look how quickly I can fire. You know, I've just thrown an absolute ton of volleys, got sort of 30 or 40 kills, and that's it, I'm off. Back to the supply point. And that's what I like about these guys. I don't need to hang around. I don't need them to be good in melee combat. They can do their damage with the Javelins. They do an intense amount of damage with the Javelins, and they can do it all in a very quick period of time. I got, you know, my double shot, my manual aim, and my little number 4 key, my targeted aim. And I can just get all my 4 volleys out really quickly. Still had one spare I could have waited for on cooldown. But I think at that point, popping back to the supply point was the right thing to do. Looks like we've got a really good team on this match as well. Got that shield line really nicely set up, absolutely perfect. I'm trying to sort of get my unit to come here. I'm going to call them up because I want to be able to volley down the alleyway to try and clear out some of the enemy range units. Random enemy hero being kidnapped. And then we're aiming down and volley straight in with that double. And just a ton of kills into all the enemy units down that line. I don't even know what we're hitting, to be honest. We're just throwing javelins into a mass of troops. And yeah, it just racks up so many kills so quickly. And that really is game, set and match. And you know, we're well over 70 kills in just a matter of minutes. And that's what I think makes them really so nice. I go for the final volley, just hit like 1 or 2 people. There's only 1 or 2 enemies left. Completely cleared out the enemy point, and we managed to capture and get the win on the siege. But it just gives you an idea of how quickly these Javelin Sergeants can put out their damage. I actually had to flick over because I also had a good game with my Fortibrashiers. But 75 unit kills, pretty easy to achieve with these guys. And while their melee certainly isn't as good as the Imperial Javelineers, I think it's acceptable enough for, well, at least for the playstyle I use on them. And I think one area, as I've been watching this footage back, is I think they throw their javelins with a lot more velocity than the Imperials, and that might be part of the reason why I like them so much. Maybe because it's much easier to hit because they throw faster. But we'll kind of have another look at that when we actually see the Imperials later on. So yeah, so they're not amazing in melee. The Imperials definitely are the better unit. But that's really not what they're about, in my opinion. And I don't think the Imperials are sufficiently amazing at melee compared to, you know, the amount of units we're getting introduced now in the game anyway, to make it really worthwhile. So I mean, in this case, a little bit of a few, I think these are iron cap swords, and you know, we do okay. The Imperials next to us actually do a better job, but we survive, take a couple of losses, nothing too drastic. Anyway, let's hop over to an Imperial game now, because we are on Orlenburg. Probably not exactly one of my favourite maps, but anyway, straight up the siege tower, and we javelin to the face of these pike units holding at the top, and really we're just trying to push down, trying to clear out this upper supply point. So we've used 1 volley, we've got 2 left, and we'll kind of get a little bit caught on decisions of what to do, how hard to push, when to throw volleys, etc. We are under a little bit of range fire. This is where some of the, you know, extra piercing defense and the shield wall kind of nature of these javelins is kind of handy, helps me keep me alive a little bit longer. I think our allied javelins, Imperial Javelineers there, probably missed that volley predominantly. We then get this push from these Imperial pikes, we get a decent volley into them, and then we go for the second volley. And we actually hit pretty well, get quite a chunk of damage, stop a lot of that advance, so I was quite pleased with that. But I'm now out of ammo already, because, you know, those 2 less volleys does make a real difference to your total capacity. And then I'm sort of caught in this interesting decision of, do I push down the stairs with the unit, or do I not? I don't really want to get caught into a prolonged stair fight. Yes, they're definitely better at melee, but they're not amazing. and it's kind of quite easy to take up quite a few casualties quite early on, and that's kind of what makes me a little bit hesitant with them, because they're better at melee, but they're not amazing. So anyway, pushing down the stairs, and it looks like a Conqueror going for the supply point with some of the enemy range stuff here. So I think, right, let's go for it. You know, in for a penny, in for a pound. Unfortunately, just as I engage, our Conqueror run away, and then I massively screw up my combos on my maul. And basically get everything in the wrong order. But some more friendly troops turned up in the end, and yes, we take a few casualties, but we're clear with the enemy units. There wasn't exactly a lot of high-tiered units, and the enemy ranged units bug out. So good for us, secured the supply point. Unfortunately, out of range of those enemy archers there, so I just pull back a bit to get myself into cover, so we can grab a little bit more health. I could have rushed them, might have got some, but you know, a lot of the unit was into the red and health, and we'd already lost 6 units, so I don't want to go lose more unnecessarily. So then I'm thinking, well, it's A or C, A or C. I was kind of thinking actually about going for C, and thinking that if we can capture C, A will naturally capture itself. But I do, in a rare moment of map awareness, notice that we are starting to get flanked on the other side after a really terrible javelin shot there where I just threw some javelins at concrete. I noticed that the enemy are counter-attacking our supply point. So I rush back, partly because it's nice to use javelins on a supply point, but also because I actually want to hold the supply point, and there's quite a bit of stuff coming. I feel this is another example, though, where the Javelin Sergeants are better, because you've got that double shot. I can cycle my abilities and get a lot more Javelins out a lot quicker, and I think that's one area that they do well. But since I'm now on cooldown, I throw my units in, get stuck into a bit of melee, and they do pretty well. They're up against Spear Sergeants, you know, another heroic era unit, Conqueror, and they do pretty well. I think Javelin Sergeants, you know, conversely in that situation, would have taken more damage, may have taken some losses, because they have the less block, the less melee damage, the less defensive stats, etc., as we've been talking about. So, you know, it's a bit of a flip coin, and I know I'm basically just saying the sort of same thing over and over. You either have range and more javelins, or you have melee, and that really is just the two choices. Again, a couple of Conquerors here. We managed to hit them with a pretty decent javelin volley. Go for another one on the supply point, so there's no consequence at all with being, you know, a little bit aggressive. And so all in all, you know, we've gained ourselves another 20-30 kills, and we've taken no losses, and just top our health back up at the supply point, and kind of it's on now to the C point to kind of pressure a little bit more. So a little bit later on in the game, we captured the C point basically without any opposition, so I just cut that bit out, and we've now gone through the back, and we are pushing in through the into the central courtyard to try and apply a bit of pressure here. So immediately sort of pull up, get stuck in, a bit of enemy heroes here, trying to clear out the point and sort of trying to secure sort of a new front line so we can actually start to get the capture on. Try and get my trebuchet position down the alleyway. Actually doesn't really go very well, kind of just misses. But we get straight stuck in on the front line, trying to use my javelins. I've still got one volley left, and it turns out to be quite a nice volley. That poor enemy glaive just gets a javelin volley completely to the face. But then things start to go a bit wrong. We start to get outflanked. This unit of Imperial Spear Guards turns up. I use my maul to get a good chunk of damage in. We then get flanked from the back as well, so I'm fighting both directions. And this is kind of one of the problems I have. I'm out of ammo. The unit isn't sufficiently amazing in melee that it can hold up into this sort of punishment, because I'm just out of position. I've got caught out. I'm basically going to die. In its defense, I think the unit actually holds for a surprisingly long time, still racks up some extra kills, and actually does a very admirable job of holding out for quite a long time on the point, considering it was very, very outnumbered. It's certainly much longer than I think you'd expect with Javelin Sergeants in the same situation. But ultimately, that really concludes my opinion on them. I think the bulk of people prefer the Imperial Javelineers. You see more Imperial Javelineers than you do Javelin Sergeants. I think they are much better in melee, they have higher javelin damage, but they do only have the 3 javelins. That is, of course, with the doctrine. I'm not sure if you will drop to 2 if you don't have the doctrine, so it's certainly worth trying to get that rare javelin doctrine. But for me, I just get on better with the Javelin Sergeants. I just find the extra couple of javelins really useful. I find the double shot really quite nice, particularly when you're in and around supply points. And I don't know, I just find them a smoother unit. They just work better for me. I don't know why. I'm weird. So that really sums up my conclusion on Imperial Javelineers versus Sergeant Javelins. Both are nice units. Both are well worth checking out. If you've not tried Javelins yet before, then certainly recommend them, because they are quite a nice unit to paint and they are quite fun, and they're actually quite a different playstyle to a lot of other units in the game, so it's certainly well worth checking out. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, do let me know what you think in the comments down below. Of course, subscribe to the channel for a load more Conquerors Blade content, and I shall see you guys all on the next video.